The jingle you just heard is by Stringless Music Solutions. If you are interested in learning how to play the guitar, including bass and ukulele, do contact Stringless Music Solutions. Mention the promo code eXpose to get $15 off your lesson fees.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us this episode of Exposed Photography. Today we have Lingam with us. Hey, Lingam, how are you today?
Hi, good evening, Ricky. It's
Yeah.
good.
How are you dealing with this pandemic period in Singapore?
I think the first 2 months were pretty good. I mean, now with the what do you call it, easing of the lockdown, there's a bit more breathing space. But I have to say the 2 months went pretty quickly. We're already like into past 100 days. So I
Yeah,
can't complain.
yeah,
Got to catch up with a few things.
definitely.
Concentrated time.
Do you miss photographing? During this period outdoors?
I
I mean,
Yeah, I miss because a lot of the stuff I do is outside Singapore. So I do miss the inability to travel. And even just before the lockdown, there was a trip that I had to cancel just because of the lockdown. So
yeah,
I'm waiting for it to open up where travel can happen.
yeah. I
So
remember you shared with me that you were supposed to fly to India somewhere in April.
correct. Early
Yeah,
April to shoot Varanasi again,
yeah,
but last minute we had to cancel it
correct. And you were
because of the lock.
supposed to be on Exposed live event in April, the late April, 25th of April,
That's
something like that.
right. Yeah,
Yeah, and
that
that
got
was
postponed
also
too.
postponed too. Yeah, so
Yes.
never mind. We are doing it online today.
Yep.
So we'll be
Thank you.
sharing, your photos from your trip to India.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me share the screen. All right. So today's topic will be Varanasi. So this is a place in India. Maybe you would like to share more.
Sure. Thanks. So everyone, welcome this evening, taking the time to join this session. What I'm going to share with you is about this place called Varanasi in North India. I've been going there for the last couple of years and predominantly shooting around the Ganges River. So Varanasi is a holy town from a Hinduism, Jainism, and Buddhism perspective. I think it's considered a holy city, holy town for thousands of years, actually. I think Varanasi has been known since the 8th, 9th century. It's a religious center up north, and it's on the west bank of the Ganges River. I think you have a map on your left-hand side. You can see Varanasi near Mirzapur, Ara. And it's the river that flows down from the Himalayas down into the Bay of Bengal. But in particular, Varanasi is known for the Ghats along the river. There are about 88 Ghats. They start with Asi Ghat and the southern point. You'll see the big red dot on the most south part of the map.
Mm-hmm.
And then they end up in Raj Ghat. So there are about 88. And out of the 88, which are predominantly used for Hinduism rituals, pujas and things like that, 2 of them are dedicated for cremation.
Okay.
Cremation meaning,
Before you proceed on, can I ask what is
sure,
get?
sure.
Yeah, what is get?
Ghats are the steps that come from a higher part of the banks and then lead into the Ganges River.
Okay.
So Ghats originally were built in the 8th and 9th century by princes, like palaces and mansions along this part of the river. And these are the steps that lead into the river. And along the river, there are little temples or Hindu shrines where people do ceremonies.
Okay.
Okay. The other thing you would find is between Asi Ghat and Raj Ghat, again, as I mentioned, 88, the distance is about 5 to 6 kilometers. In realistic terms, you can actually walk the distance quite easily, but there are some parts where it's only 50 feet wide and other parts where it's 500 feet wide. If we could move on to the next picture, please, Ricky. So this is a snapshot of the Ghats from a boat on the river, looking back at the Ghats at dusk. If you see these structures that you see along this water and the steps leading into the water. I think the important thing to note is if you see these structures, they have balconies right at the top, and the bottom half is literally brick walls. One of the reasons is during the monsoon season, the water level rises significantly, like 20, 30 feet. Okay. And I think 2 years ago, the monsoon was really bad that even it reached the edges of the balconies. So that's another thing where Varanasi is quite unique. I'm sure there are many places in India, but in terms of places I've been to, Varanasi with its the water levels rising, and on the monsoon season, the pilgrimage or the rituals are done pretty much right at the top of the Ghats, the streets leading back into town.
So I have a question for you, Lingam. How's the water quality like, given that it's heavily being used by the people?
Okay, very good question. It depends on who you speak to. Mm-hmm. The Ganges starts somewhere in the Himalayas, runs for 4,800 kilometers. Mm-hmm. And along it, there's a lot of pollution because there's a lot of factories, leatherworks. Okay. And I think from my personal opinion and what I've seen, and you will see in some of the pictures, people dump stuff into the river. Okay. So when you look at it, it looks dirty on the banks. But then you will see pictures later on that shows you a very different perspective on how people look at it. Okay. The other key thing is, it's a holy river in Hinduism. So like in this picture that you're looking at, you see all these ladies, the Ghat are the steps, and they're taking a morning bath. And this is around 4:30, 5 a.m. on one of those religious days.
Okay, is this a normal kind of bath or a religious bath?
This is taken around the February-March timeframe. There's a significant day called Mahashivaratri, and a lot of pilgrims come to Varanasi just to do this bath, bathing in the Ganges River, and also doing some ceremonies on the banks of the river. It's the belief is bathing the river washes your sins away.
Oh, okay.
So you would find, thousands of people just coming in on pilgrimage, and some people come from overseas. Some people come from different parts of India just to come down to this river.
So during this, looking at this photo, is this considered the peak period where people are, or this is just the starting of a day?
This particular one was taken on the main day. It is considered peak, but this is only one of the locations. Wow. And as I mentioned, it runs for about 4.85 to 6 kilometers. There are different spots where different people sort of take their bath and do the ceremonies. I think a couple other shots later you'll see in different parts of along this river where people are doing similar things. Okay. So this shot, again, taken on the banks of the Ganges River at Asi Ghat, the first Ghat in the southern tip. These are ladies who are making a religious offering on the ground. By the way, now the water is quite low. In February, March, the water is low, so you can actually walk out to the bank. So here, what they do is they sort of build this little mounds that represent different gods, predominantly Shiva or Ganesha, and then they do a religious ceremony around it, put flowers, put the fire, and then burn some incense. And I have to say, in the times I've been there, I've seen predominantly women doing it. Men do not seem to do it. I've not been able to understand.
Okay, so from what I see, the photos is mainly all ladies doing all these rituals.
But later on, you will see there are a couple of images where men do it, but men do it towards the idol, praying towards the idol. They don't do this ceremony on the banks of the river. And another significance is when they do this, later on, the water sort of washes it away. The idea is with the Ganges River, it washes your sins away, moral sins.
Okay.
So the water washes your moral sins, and later on I'll explain what the fire does.
Okay.
And I think to your earlier point, you were asking, Ricky, how clean. If you
Yes.
look at this, the lady is doing worship, very significant and all that, but you do see a Coke bottle next to her.
Okay. So
And
that's
the
the
chance-
bottle that maybe some holy water that she brings along, or?
So generally, a lot of people will use the bottle to collect holy water, or some of them bring these plastic bottles with a bit of oil in it to light the lamps.
Okay.
And then there's a tendency, although there are rubbish bins around, they'll just leave it or chuck it into the river. So
Okay.
it does get polluted by us human beings.
So here we are looking at a group of guys doing the ritual and also having a bath at the river.
Yes, so these four gentlemen came from, I sort of, my Tamil, South Indian or Tamil language is really bad, but I spoke to them briefly. They came from South India, specifically on a pilgrimage. And if you notice, they all are wearing red, I think in Singapore, we'll call it sarongs.
Okay.
A red cloth. And they believe in Lord Shiva. And that's why they're red. So they have taken a bath in the river, and you see a gentleman in the river, and then another gentleman walking out. So after taking a bath, they're just offering the light as an offering to the god. The other point to note is you also see a boat on the top left. You would also find, apart from pilgrims, there's a lot of tourists.
Oh, okay.
And because it's a holy city, holy river, and a lot of tourists. In peak times, I've seen Chinese, Europeans, Westerners, tourists going on the boat, looking back at the river, taking pictures. So it's an interesting place because you have people traveling very far, coming from very far to do pilgrimage. Then you also have the tourists coming out of curiosity. So it's an economy of its own.
So I believe that it shouldn't be difficult for people to be taking photographs during this period where they are performing all these rituals along the river.
No, I think in my travels, I have to say India is probably the most free country in terms of taking photographs. It's I've never been told don't take, nor in my experience have I been asked for money. All these photographs, I'm just walking around, I stop, I connect with them, I acknowledge they know that I'm there and I'm taking photographs, and just smile and walk away. And one or two younger people would say, can you send me? So I just take the email address down and send them an image.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. I think it's a good gesture. So
I think it's important because they are giving you time and their image. So why not?
Correct.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Sorry, Fan.
Yeah.
I think it's a good opportunity because in some places, not everybody owns a camera. And you taking the photo, it gives a different experience to them because I can hold a phone and do a selfie myself. But it has never feel natural or feel, the look and feel is very different from compared to someone taking a photo of me from the other side.
Yep. And also perspectives, right? I mean, we see it differently, and they may see it very differently. And again, me as a foreigner, maybe my perspective, my level of interest is different. For them, it's just recording we've been there, whereas I'm trying to capture a story of what goes on along the Ghats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Fan, you were saying?
Oh yeah. Okay. So I have a question regarding the tourists. Are they all just on the boats, or are they also around the pilgrims?
They're also around walking on the Ghats, but a lot of them, I think, tend to do it from the boat because it's more scenic. Because on one hand, you have the water, then you have the skyline. And the buildings being, hundreds of years old, look very beautiful when they're lit up at dawn or dusk. So you'll see a lot of that. So this photo is taken a bit further up along the Ghats. What you have is, a mix of men and women going into the water. if you notice that the lady in the blue sari and then lower down another lady, they're sisters. They came from the north. And recently, I had a brief chat through another friend, having chat where they came from. That's all I got. That's how far I got. And they are again on a pilgrimage. It's taken them 3 days to get down to Varanasi. And their sole purpose is to bathe and do a prayer. So here you find that, you know, everyone's taking a bath in the water and they are in their best dressed saris. So one thing, and some people do it, once you bathe in the river, you're supposed to throw away the clothes because your sins are supposed to be washed away, right? You're supposed to bring a change of clothes.
Okay.
But a lot of people these days sort of get up, change into new clothes and take the clothes back. But I have seen women and men where they sort of leave the sari or the, you know, sarong or veshti on the steps itself. And then folks who are less fortunate, poorer people will pick it up, wash it, use it. So it's an economy or sort of a cycle of its own. You know, one part people leave it, one part people do take it back.
Yeah.
And so again, this is a close shot. You know, I was sort of standing in the water till just to about my knee, but still close enough I could take this.
Yeah,
and
I was just about to ask you, were you in the water? Because it looks like you were.
Yeah. So I have to admit, I've been there quite a few times. I've only gone knee high. I haven't done the full dip because my logical mind says, maybe I'm not used to this sort of water and stuff. I don't want to fall sick. Also, probably, you know, other people say I don't have faith.
And you have a camera with you, so you have to take that into consideration too.
True, very true. So this photo is taken at what they call the Kedar Ghat, which is further north. And the distinct about this ghat, it's more, the temple at the top of it is more South Indian. And if you look at the temple, it's a South Indian temple on the top of the ghat. And it's a representation of a temple in the Himalayas, in the Indian Himalayas. So it's like not a replica, it just represents the presence of the Himalayan temple here in the Varanasi, in Varanasi. And these gentlemen, again, it's probably around 7 a.m., 6:30, 7 a.m. They come in to take a holy dip. And what you see is, you know, different people have different ways they approach bathing in the river. And ultimately, you bathe in the river and you worship the rising sun. So all this activity happens till about 7, 7:15. And admittedly, there are people who come later, but you would find a lot more activity just before the sun rises or as the sun is rising. The other point to note, the bamboo with the red covering, it's like a safety barrier. If you go beyond, it gets deeper. It just drops.
Okay, what about the ropes? Is there anything significant about the ropes? Is it a safety rope or? Similar,
safety rope. So if you sort of clamber, you can grab onto the rope. This is a shot taken sort of quite late because it was 7 a.m., 7:15 a.m. Earlier in the morning, you would find it jam-packed. And when it's packed, it also gets dangerous because I've stepped in, the ground is slippery. Although the steps go down under the water, but then because there's a lot of silt, the ground is slippery. So you can slip very easily. And I've seen people slip or misstep because they can't see the steps.
So that's the reason why they have the ropes and a safety barrier there, you know?
Yes.
Because I believe that definitely there are some incident happened in the past, which is why they implement that as a safety precaution.
Yep. And also you will find when it's really busy on those festival days, you will have police on boats for safety reasons. This is not a packed scene. Later on, you'll see a scene, what it looks like in a moderate busy time. This gentleman, I have seen him pretty much every time I've been there. So I figure he's a local. Every morning he comes, he does bathes in the river and does his prayer. And what he's putting on his arms is the holy ash. I think if you go to a Hindu temple here, they will offer the holy ash. So he dresses himself up, puts the holy ash, and then on the right-hand side, he's actually doing a ceremony. He's brought the flower, and the dark stone that you see on the ground is the Shivalinga, represent of the Indian god. And he's just doing a ceremony. Every morning he does the same thing. And he brings that, the brass, container to grab the water from the river and then bathe the god. And he does this every morning. Or the mornings I've been there, I've seen him.
Okay.
So there are quite a few people who are also locals who live there. And every morning it's a ritual. They would come down to the river, they would bathe, they would pray to the rising sun, and then you will see these lingas or statues and shrines. They will go up to them and do a ceremony, like a prayer, and then go on to their normal day.
So how many times have you been over there over the years?
I think over the last 3 years, I've been 6 times.
Wow. And also, you see this gentleman most every time you are there.
I've seen him for the last 2 years.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
So I figure he's a local. There are a couple of faces that I'm familiar with, and I think they are locals. The challenge I have is I don't speak Hindi, which they speak. So it's hard to connect, but sometimes I feel they recognize, oh, here's that guy with the camera again.
Yeah. Since you recognize that, it's likely that they will remember you.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the lingas, which represent Lord Shiva along the river. And again, you will see a lot of them along the river on the Ghats. And what you would find is, in monsoon season, all these are underwater. So when the water rises, all these get covered in the water. So, and then you can only see them when it's sort of a drier season or winter, when the water levels are lower. And some of them do get washed away, but some of the bigger ones, are still there year in, year out.
I think the next photo you will have a better view of the river banks.
So what you're seeing here, the river at its lowest, and if you see the stairs going up to the left, the water gets higher than the top of those stairs in the monsoon season. So you can imagine the volume of water that is coming through or flowing through. And this is taken again around 7:30. And as you can see, it's quite bright, and the river sort of curves around. So you do see how long the Ghats are.
Yep.
Again, these two gentlemen, I believe they're pilgrims. They're visiting simply because if you look at the clothing they're wearing, it's very neatly pressed. And also, they have bundles of stuff with them. So again, they're bathed in the river, they've done some ceremony, and they're praying to the rising sun.
So it's amazing, right? It's small little details that catches your eye that you can realize that likely they are not local, as in from the area.
Yeah,
coming from other parts of India.
And also which particular Ghat they are in, because certain Ghats, I think the locals go regularly, and you can tell. Others are when people sort of go to a certain Ghat, they don't know this is like, not the local Ghat, whatever.
Okay.
So, yeah. So this is a snapshot of not so busy Varanasi on a holy day. Not so busy.
Okay. So I can imagine how when it's at the peak, I can imagine.
So when it's peak, it's jam-packed. I mean, like absolutely packed. This is not so busy. This is the day before the peak. Because I didn't put up a picture of the peak because you just see people and it just looks like I think for us it'd be like a football game, it's just packed with people. And also, if it's on peak, you will also see further again to your top left, all full of people. But this is, even all said and done, if you can see the fire burning and people, the clothes they're wearing, it's quite cold. It's probably around 15, 16 degrees.
Wow.
And then the wind is blowing off the river.
Yeah.
From on the east bank is basically a sandbar. So when the wind blows through and picks up through the water, it's quite cold. The water is about 16, 17 degrees or colder.
Wow.
It's cool. Yeah.
I can imagine those who goes early in the morning, like 5 a.m. It will be
5
very
a.m.
cold.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, 5 a.m., I think the opening image where there was a picture of a gentleman just staring blankly, that was taken at 4:30 a.m. He's already out there meditating at 4:30 a.m.
Wow.
So people do go out to the Ghats early just to do their ceremonies, their bathing and all that. And also, sorry, Ricky, if you could go back.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
So if you see also those yellow umbrellas, and that's not a very good shot to depict them. You'll see one later on. The men under those yellow umbrellas are like priests. So they will either help in a ceremony or do a ceremony for you. So there's a lot of these yellow umbrellas and the big white umbrella. You find all these priests, what they call pandits. They're not like the priests that we are familiar with in Singapore that do the ceremonies at Hindu temple, but they are priests of kind.
Okay. So are they traveling priests or part of the pilgrimage, or they are there?
They are there. They are permanent, semi-permanent fixtures.
All right.
Yeah. They tend to move around.
And for those umbrellas that are non-yellow or white, likely they are those street vendors selling foods.
Yes, there's a lot of okay. So what I'm sharing with all of you here is quite a few shots of along the Ghats, but it's a whole ecosystem. If you look at it, you have the pilgrims, you have the boatmen, and then you have all the snack vendors, and you have a complete ecosystem which is multi-layered. And if I were to share, there'll be like very, very different photographs. But this one I picked a series around people making their pilgrimage into Varanasi. Okay. We could move.
Yep.
Here, I think if you look at the image and take a moment to read it, there's a lot happening. The two ladies in the foreground are preparing to do a ceremony, and that's why they're sort of writing certain words on the ground. And then they will put the garland and light the fire. But then in the background, if you see the lady to the left in the purple sari, I think she's just come out of the water, she's changing. And then you have a lady on the right, literally just out of the water, changing. So you have the thing about Varanasi at these times of year is there's a lot going on. And as a photographer, where do you stop? Or how far do you take the shot? How deep do you take the shot? That is one of the challenges. I think for me, when I have shot Varanasi, secondly, I think in India, generally it's a very colorful place.
Yeah.
Yep.
It makes it even more difficult.
Yes.
I think, Fan, Ricky, you guys have traveled the world. If you've been to India, you will see it's just full of color.
I have not been to India. Maybe Fan has been to India or the region, the countries around the area. Definitely, India is very colorful.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going there to take photos of different festivals.
Correct.
Because they love the colors.
You don't need to go to India to see the colors. You just need to go. Like for example, Ricky, you have shot Thaipusam, right?
Yep.
So you just go to the Indian temple. It's colorful.
It's colorful.
Yeah.
So the colors are also very vibrant.
Yes.
You're talking about yellow, orange. So these are colors that give a lot of contrast to the photos itself.
Yeah. And also, I think in a photo like this, there's multiple stories happening. And I think, photography sometimes doesn't do justice. I know we all are into it, but being there and just standing and observing, you absorb a lot more than what an image image in a situation like this can say.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So here, I think it's a common scene, common in many ways, but also I think in Varanasi, it's very important. The three ladies have bathed in the Ghats, changed, they've done their ceremonies. This is what they call a diya. It's a lamp with flowers around it. It's lit, and then it's sort of let go into the river. I can understand the significance of it. It's easy to understand, it's an offering to the river. I think the thing I failed to mention is the Ganges River is seen as a goddess herself. And in India, they call it Ma Ganga, Mother Ganga. So it's a god that's descended from heaven onto earth, and she flows. And there's a lot of stories, mythology around it, but here they are making the offering to the river. That's very good. But also, I think if you pay closer attention, I think to your earlier point, Ricky, the base is an aluminium foil.
Yep.
The base of this deer is an aluminium foil, which means it gets into the river and it pollutes. In olden times, it was palm leaf. It was made out of palm leaf. But now aluminium foil, I guess, is cheaper than drying palm leaves and making the base.
Yeah, definitely.
So these are some of the. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I think it's all about the cost, and
Yes.
and whatever products that can be developed faster, they'll just use that. Well, I'm not saying that I'm a big advocate of the environment. I'm just asking because you are talking about the amount of people along the river is tremendous.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, if you see the banks on this picture, banks of the river is full of flowers. The flowers that people put into the river or washed up after their prayers. So if you walk along the river, you will see a lot of flowers, a lot of rubbish too, but predominantly you'll see a lot of marigold flowers just along the river.
And I believe these flowers are bought from those vendors that are along the rivers, or
Yes.
do they bring it from home?
There are vendors along the river. A lot of people also bring it from home. There's a huge flower market in Varanasi. So you can go to the flower market and buy whatever you want for your, what do you call it, religious ceremonies.
Okay.
Nice.
So that's again a part of the ecosystem.
Business.
Okay. I don't know, you guys want to take a guess what this is?
No idea, man. It looks like a huge piece of sari.
Yeah, are they drying out the sari or?
Absolutely right, Fran. So they've taken, they've bathed in the river. They're just drying out the sari, and then they will fold it because again it's breezy, right? So it dries out quite quickly. They would dry out the sari and take it home. But as I mentioned, some people just leave it on the banks, and the poor people would pick it up and wash it and use it. But some people just rinse it out in the river and then dry it or put it in a bag and take it home.
Okay.
This looks like a very huge piece of sari, looking at the photo.
I think a sari is 6 meters long.
Yes,
18
6 meters
feet
long. Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think
it's just one piece of cloth.
Yes. It's about 6 meters long, 18 feet.
Because nowadays, if you see people wearing sari on the street in Singapore, it's like I don't think they are wearing that 6 meter worth.
Depends. Depends. I know they are the modern one where I think it's called like the instant sari.
They clip it on.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think I think in India you will find people wearing the 6 meter long cloth. I would think so. Good point, though. I never thought about it.
Yeah, because the last time I probably saw somebody wearing a long sari is probably long time ago. Because nowadays it's kind of a hassle, right? To have 6 meters long sari, wrapping around. Yeah. It's kind of inconvenience, or maybe it's too hot for the climate, like in Singapore.
I think you need to have the skills to wear it.
To wear it, yeah. It's not easy to wear a sari, I've been told.
Yeah.
So
maybe you can have a session on how to wear a sari next time round.
And it would be interesting, you know.
Yeah, it's good cultural thing to learn.
Yeah.
true,
Okay,
very true.
let's continue.
So this one, the gentleman in the yellow is a pandit, like a priest, as I mentioned. And the four gentlemen sitting in front of him, basically they've come in to do a ceremony for a family member who's passed away. In Hinduism, there's the ceremonies that you do for people who have passed away 1 year later or a couple of years later. I think 1, 3, 7, depending on which what you are following. So they've again done this thing where they go and bathe in the river, and then now they're just finishing off the ceremony. And the gentleman in the yellow is the priest who's doing the ceremony for the four people. And behind them, you see this red and white steps. So this is in the South Kedar Ghat. And in South India, a lot of temples will have this red and white steps marked. So here is where you do find, because it's also relatively clean and it's big space, people sort of stop and meet up here before they go on to other places. So it's a meeting point. At the top of it, there's a temple. And as you go further down, is the waters. And some of the shots that you've seen has been taken around this area. Yeah. This again in South Kedar Ghat. If you notice, 4 of the women have their heads shaven.
Shave, yeah.
Yeah.
Why do they do that?
So it is, in olden days, and I guess to some extent today, your hair, for a woman, the hair signifies beauty. It's part of the persona, right? Gives form and beauty. So here they've probably taken a vow, come to do certain things in the river, bathe, they're about to do a ceremony, and they shave their heads as part of penance or making a vow.
Mm-hmm.
So they're giving up their vanity or ego as part of the process. So this is part, I guess it's penance. You can call it penance, or an ask to gods that if I do this, or I'm doing this because you helped me with this. So that's where you find shaving of the heads in women. Women is quite significant because it's part of the beauty. Mm-hmm. Men do it too. I think here in Singapore for Thaipusam, you find a lot of men shaving their heads.
Yep.
So it's giving up a certain thing of your life.
It's a big decision for the woman to take, because I've seen a lot of Indian ladies, their hair are very long, but to make the decision to shave it off, wow, it's not easy.
It's not easy. So it's a significant giving from a thinking perspective. And this was shot, again, I'm standing at the top of this pond, and then taking down as they were doing the ceremonies.
Oh, okay. So I have a question, because I recently came across this documentary on YouTube regarding the wigs, hair wigs. So I know in India there's all
big
the
business.
Yeah, it's a big business. So is this when they shave the hair? I mean, does the hair go to this industry or no?
I think I can't say it, because here I've seen the people shave it and literally just chuck it in the bin.
Ah, okay.
But so I can't say unless someone has some form of mechanism to collect. But the number of times I've seen people being shaved in Varanasi, the barber or the person shaving it just sort of bins it. He doesn't seem to retain it.
Ah, okay.
But in India, I hear that hair is big industry for wigs.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, because it's natural. It doesn't, it sort of works well or something.
Yeah, and they are being paid to have their head shaved. No, that's what I see on the documentary.
Okay, I was not aware of it, but I've read. Yeah, it's big industry. These 3 ladies, they've basically done their pilgrimage and they're about to leave Varanasi. And if you notice, the lady in the middle, palm of her feet, sole of her feet has got that pink mark.
Yep.
Most likely, I didn't talk to them. Most likely, what these three ladies have done is walked around Varanasi, what they call a yatra. It's a long walk. I forget how many kilometers, but I think there are 108 temples or shrines they have to visit. And it takes about a bit more than a day. And some people come to do that because in one aspect, Varanasi represents the cosmos. So, some people take this vow and walk around these 108 temples as part of whatever they've promised they've made or things like that. And it's walked barefoot. I think similarly, you would see it in Tibet, where they walk around prostrate on the ground continuously. Here, they will just walk.
I think for different religion, they do have such practice. I think
Correct.
in Japan, I have seen something like that. They will visit multiple temples within that area, as part of the maybe to ritual or promise to that they ask and things like that. So I think it's just that different countries, different religion, you see them doing differently.
Yeah. So so a lot of people do that. Come to Varanasi at certain times of the year to do that walk around Varanasi and the 108 shrines.
That's a lot of temple in that area itself.
Take a guess how many shrines / temples are there in Varanasi? Wild guess.
Maybe 500.
I think easily 2,000.
You're very close. 3,000.
Wow.
According to.
So is it like while walking on the street, if you definitely
generally there is a
temple.
Shrine at there may be a big temple or a shrine, a small stone.
Okay.
So they include all that. There's about 3,000 of them.
Wow, that's a lot.
And don't forget, it's I think it's one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world.
Yes.
It's from the 8th, 9th century. So people and faith, right? Faith is interesting. It's sort of people build these things and shrines for different significance.
Yeah, because it's along the waterway. That's that's how civilization grew from there.
Yeah. So there, I've heard there are about 3,000 of them, and 108 are this route that people do in a certain, and you have to do it in a certain way and in a certain sequence. If not, you can't do it right. You have to follow the sequence. So yeah.
And walking barefoot, it's tough. It's
walking barefoot.
Easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a general question. While shooting over there, do you feel safe for yourself?
Yeah, very much so. I've never been hassled. Mm-hmm. I feel safe, perfectly safe. I mean, when I go in at 4:30 in the morning, some parts are dark. I always carry a little torchlight so that I know where I'm stepping, so I don't fall into the river. But apart from that, people are friendly, safe. I've never felt unsafe.
Okay, well, that's good to know, because it's important information for people who plans to go to visit this place once all this pandemic is over.
Yes, I've always felt safe, and touch wood, I've also felt very lucky. People are willingness to allow me to photograph.
Yeah, I think that's
they've never
very
stopped
important.
me. Yeah. So these are kids. They're probably around 10 to the oldest, maybe 16. They live in a hostel along, there's quite a few of these schools and hostels. So these kids read the holy text, Hindu text, and they memorize it to heart. I forget how many there are. There's quite a couple of them. So they come at an early age, and they go to these Vedic schools where they read and memorize the holy text. And they live in these hostels. This is in the morning. So most mornings they will come down from these hostels or schools, and they will do yoga along the river at the Ghats. And then they will go back to classes. So this is, I've seen it. The last trip was early this year. I saw them do it every morning. So there are quite a few of these schools around Varanasi. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it's a religious center. It's an art center too. Some great musicians come from Varanasi, and yoga is also, quite famous from Varanasi. So
I
these are
noticed I noticed the kids all have interesting hairstyle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
they tend
shaved
to have,
around,
yeah,
but they
most
have
of them
some part
will,
of the hair behind. Yeah.
yeah, they have the ponytail, and it's part of the religious practice to have that ponytail.
Okay.
So they're shaved back, and then they have a lock of hair at the back, and like a ponytail. Yeah. I think anywhere you go in India, you have people playing cricket.
Yeah.
These are the same. It's probably the second religion.
It's like the biggest sport in India.
Yes.
So it's nice to see a sport that is being embraced by the masses, because it shows that it's how popular it is, and it's a sport where you can gather a group of people to play, just not like badminton or tennis where it's just limited up to a maximum of 4 players.
Yes. Yes. Again, these are kids from the Vedic school. They're just playing cricket, and if you notice, the bat is a piece of wood they've just shaped out to be a bat. And I think the kids, in what I've seen about the kids, well, anywhere in the world, they basically can take anything and make a sport out of it, and they do it pretty well.
I think the amazing thing about kids is their imagination is just beyond this world, because they are trying to occupy themselves every minute of the day while they are still awake. So they'll probably find something that looks like a bat, just use it and play. And maybe they are not even using a proper ball. It could be something made out of
Something round. Yeah.
some round.
Yes.
Just like us when we were kids, we just kick around. Even a can of Coca-Cola, it can be a football.
True, very true. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it wasn't a cricket ball. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it wasn't. Yeah, but yeah, so you do find kids, and then I've seen at different times of the year where kids are flying kites along the river, which you don't see any kids doing these days, or at least in Singapore, Malaysia, this part of the world.
Because in Singapore right now, to fly a kite is only a designated area you can fly.
Oh, that's right. Because of flight.
And when I was younger, I used to do it around my neighborhood. There's lesser, restriction back then.
Right.
So we just flew our kites. It was fun. But now, if you want to fly a kite, I can't do it at my housing estate because there's a air base just across the road.
Okay.
So that's a big no for us.
Right.
And to travel to a specific place to fly a kite, that is
it's
kind
too
of
much
time
hassle.
consuming. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question. Is that how are the kids reacting with you around with a camera? Because some kids, they're always curious. They want you to take the photo of them.
I've had that happen where they sort of come up and want to see what picture, and I would show them, and then sometimes they all get together and they want to pose, and you take a picture. Again, same thing. I'll take a picture and ask them, "Do you have an email?" And unfortunately, some of them don't.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't give an image to them. I don't carry a portable printer or Instax camera, so I can't do that. But if they want pictures taken, I will take them. But I'll say, "Do you have an email?" I'll email it back to them. I mean, it's the least I think I could do.
Yep.
Because their willingness.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they go to effort when they want their pictures to be taken. They would organize themselves and things like that. So I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll spend more time taking a picture.
I do sometimes bring along a portable printer, small,
Yeah.
print out. Just using a phone and then transfer it to the printer because you can print wirelessly.
Yes.
Well, it depends, because if it's a group of 30, I can't be printing 30 photos.
That's the other thing, right?
Yeah, right.
Where do you stop?
Yeah, so it's a difficult choice, but for me, I try to do the best. If I can make somebody happy over just a printout, I'll do it.
Right.
Because it's priceless. Maybe that's the only photo they have in their life.
Yes.
For some places you travel. It's sad, but it's true. It's true.
Yeah. So the next couple of photos or images are very different. I think a lot of people, when they see this image, probably go, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
So this gentleman is a sadhu, a holy man. And what he's doing is he's taking a bath in the river. But he's not, most people will go in, take a bath. And some people do use soap and all that. But this gentleman, we stood there, a friend and I stood there a bit long just to watch him. He takes the mud from the river and sort of puts it all over him. So what you see is, he's put mud, the river mud, all over his body to wash. And then later on, I have a couple other photos, he just goes and swims and washes it off. So what you see covering him is just the Ganges River mud from the bottom of the river. And he spoke a bit of English, and I'm pretty sure he said spa.
Oh, spa. Okay.
I'm like,
Okay. It makes
and
sense.
I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. He said, I'm pretty sure he said spa, because I was looking at him going like, my expression was, what are you doing?
Yes.
And I think he did say spa. That's the only thing I caught. I smiled, and then, he sort of put up his hand and we parted company.
Free spa, by the way, along the river.
Yeah. This this photo was taken in around November 2018. There's a big celebration called Dev Diwali. I think most Singaporeans know we celebrate Deepawali or Diwali here in October, November.
Mm-hmm.
In Varanasi, they celebrate Diwali, and then about 15 days after that, they celebrate Dev Diwali, and it's called like Diwali for the gods. So again, it's a big celebration, and it's a lot of rituals along the river. At night, they light up these lights. They're called diyas, right? They have coconut oil with a wick in these earthen lights. And the whole Ghat, 5 kilometers is full of these lights. And some of it is organized by association. A lot of it is done by people who live along the Ghats or people who come down, organizing it and then lighting it. And this gentleman again is a sadhu, like a holy man. And he was just sitting there arranging these lights for some people. And I took a couple of shots, and this is one shot where he was looking straight. Different people have different views about them, because some of these sadhus are also, I think the term would be high. They take what's called pan, which is like, I think in Malay we call it ganja. That's probably the closest.
Yeah. Ganja is weed.
Weed,
Yeah,
yes.
weed.
So it's supposed to help them, help them in their thinking or whatever. But some of them can be high. That's what I've heard. I've not tried it. I don't know what it is. It's in bitter leaf. It's put in bitter leaf.
Okay.
And that's why someone explained to me he looks so, piercing look. But I still think it's one of the best photographs of a sadhu or two, because he's just staring blankly into you, but piercing. And another thing is, when they do this lights in November, someone was telling me, I think if you satellite imagery sees this from outer space, it can be seen when they do it, this 5 kilometers of lights being lit up. So
because the population there is huge. So we are not talking about 1,000 lights,
Yes.
1,000 times more than what we usually see. Yeah.
Correct. So, So this, again, was done in Dev Diwali, was shot on Dev Diwali.
Yeah. I think if you were to use a drone to take a shot from top down, it really will show the scale of the light festival.
Yes, absolutely. So here, again, the gentleman on the right is a sadhu. He's covered with this white ash. I can't confirm this, but most sadhus who have this white ash on them are called agori sadhus. So they live in cremation grounds. And this white ash is the ash from the cremated bodies and they put it on themselves.
Okay.
I can't confirm this is an agori sadhu because I've also been told there are a lot of people who sort of dress up or take the form of sadhus, but may not be 100% sadhus. So like fake sadhus.
Scammers lah. I mean,
scammers, yes. Yeah. Scammers would be So, but I just thought it was quite interesting. And in front of him, he has this pot with something burning. Actually, it's dried cow dung, and they use it for heat sometimes or cooking.
Okay.
So these two other gentlemen, I think they're just sort of visiting him. And again, this is open on the Ghat. There's no shelter.
Yeah, I think cow dung is one popular source of fuel in India, right?
Correct.
Yes.
It's easily available everywhere.
Yes. Yep. And in a place like Varanasi, it's on every street corner because cows are holy. You can't hit them, kill them. So they're just everywhere and they're happy to do their business wherever. So sometimes when it's raining, it's really hard to walk because it can be quite treacherous.
Yeah, which explains why you bring a torchlight along when you're walking out 4 a.m. in the morning.
Like you said earlier, you mentioned earlier, is the whole ecosystem there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this I believe is the Agori Sadhu. So this again is a view from the boat. This is called Manakarnika Ghat. It's a burning ghat. This is where they do all the cremation. And it operates 24/7 every day. There's non-stop. And those fires that you see are basically burning bodies. And on the right-hand side, you see a stack of wood. That's the wood people use to burn these bodies. And this goes on 24 hours every day. So one of the things is if you get cremated in Varanasi, you die or get cremated in Varanasi, the belief is you break the life and death cycle. This will be your last life. You won't be reborn again.
Okay.
So there is another, for a better word, industry where there are a lot of hostels where old people come to live their last days or months there, hoping to die and being cremated in Varanasi. So it's and it's I think the largest open cremation ground in the world.
Oh, this is a very strong image I find, because you look at it, there are a lot of people looking around, I don't believe most of them are related to the person that's been cremated. So they are
most of them are not.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like what you said, 24 hours. How's the smell like around the area?
It's just smoke.
Okay.
It's just smoke.
Yeah.
Because the wood and also the wood have different qualities. Depending on how rich you are, you use higher quality. Sandalwood is the most expensive and the best. So the fragrance out of burning sandalwood is very different from normal wood. But as you said, a lot of people are just watchers. If you see in the foreground, in the boat with the garlands on it, they're all Westerners. It's I hate to say this, for some people it's a curiosity, right? It's a spectacle.
Okay.
Sorry, go on, Pam.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask whether you've walked on the ground to see it up close.
I have. I have gone close, but not close, very close. I mean, because you also, people they're mourning, right? You don't want to turn up. And you're not supposed to take pictures. But you also find people using zoom lenses as photographers taking pictures of the burning bodies.
I think it's all respect for the deceased, But
it's
a very strong image,
And the other thing, it's only men allowed to go to the burning site because it's the eldest son who lights the flame of the fire.
Correct.
And in the center of the picture, you see a little structure which is orange in 3 windows. It's not very clear, but that's where the eternal flame lies. So to start a fire on one of these pyres, you go and pick the fire from that main temple and then bring it down and light the fire to the cremation. And that fire has been burning, I'm told, forever. So
nice. It's interesting.
It's emotional when you go down and just stand and watch. Although you're not connected to anyone who is being cremated, well, I feel, you tend to feel something.
Yeah, definitely. Because when you are looking at a photo, it gives so much emotion to it. But I can't imagine you being there because you feel the heat. You
Yes.
inhale the smoke and you are there looking. It's
Yeah.
definitely, I mean, the photo can't tell those feeling compared to when you are there. Yeah.
I mean, if I took a photo of actual close-up, which I can't, I wouldn't do it. I think you get a better sense because when you see the body in the fire, it's quite, interesting is not the right word, but, and also you can see, if you pay close enough attention on the stairs, quite in the middle of the photo on the stairs, you see a gold color thing along the stairs. That's actually a body draped, ready to go into, ready to be cremated.
Interesting.
So yeah,
I don't know whether if you guys know about this, because there's also another documentary which I watched regarding this. I think it was featured on National Geographic. So I mean, the documentary is not focusing on the cremation, but it's focusing on this group of people who scavenge whatever jewelries, and they make a living out of it. So yeah.
Yep. You would see that too. Kids, young adults going through the burnt pyre, looking for jewelry or money, because sometimes they put money on the body as part of the ceremony. But yeah, it does. You do see that. Yeah. You're right. And then the ashes basically get picked up after it's been burned and chucked into the river. And is it pollution? Yes. Sometimes, I think they chuck more than just the ashes.
Yeah, because you were saying that this place runs 24 hours.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
So you can imagine the number of bodies they are burning,
Correct. Yeah.
Every hour.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's just amazing number.
Yeah. And I don't think all the bodies are really burned into ashes.
Yes.
Yeah. No. So because people will need the space, so I think they will just like, okay, this one almost over, just clear it,
Yeah, and also it depends on the quality of the wood, because I think it takes about 8 hours for a body to burn fully. Sometimes the wood, some people run out of wood, so it doesn't burn the body fully because they can't afford the wood itself. So that, there's a lot of articles written around it, and now the government, not now, a couple of years ago, higher up from these Ghats, the government has government cremation, like electric or gas burners, the gas cremation.
Okay.
As an alternative. But because Varanasi is the great cremation ground for a Hindu, why come all the way and burn in a gas burner? You want to burn.
Yeah,
true.
So that's another challenge of changing times. Definitely. Yeah, it's a very moving.
Yeah.
So what I find with Varanasi, on one hand, it's about life. On the other hand, it's about death. It's a whole circle.
So let's talk about something. How many days do you usually spend in that area itself?
Probably I go there for about 3 days. No, sorry, 4 nights.
4 nights.
4 nights. 4 nights generally.
Yeah. So have you covered the whole length of the area?
Half, I would say. I keep going back to the half where there's a lot of activity, especially under religious ceremonies. The other half is much quieter, lesser. So I probably go as far as the burning Ghats and slightly further, and then walk back.
Yeah.
And you have to walk.
How's the accommodation for the area?
It's reasonable. it's not 5-star. I can't afford 5-star if I go every year. So it's like very clean 3-star, 4-star. The thing is, it's clean, it's safe, and I tend to stay near Ghat, so I can walk in the morning.
Yes.
There are nicer hotels in town, but then you have to take a tuk-tuk, not tuk-tuk, yeah, they call it something else, but you need to take a tuk-tuk in and stuff like that. And I don't speak the language. So I rather spend that bit extra and just stay along the Varanasi Ghats.
And you can go out and walk anytime that you want, right?
Yeah.
So it's easier that way.
It's easier.
Yeah.
So most of my food's Indian. It's vegetarian. It's, if you stay in a reasonable hotel, generally they include food. If not, along the Ghats, there's a great pizza place.
Okay, vegetarian pizza.
Vegetarian pizza. So the other thing is you find a lot of Westerners who live in Varanasi now to either study religious study, music, it's a music hub, or do yoga.
Oh yes, yoga. I heard about that. Yeah, it's a upcoming yoga hub. That's what they say. Yes.
So you find a lot of Westerners living in Varanasi. So there are, I think there's 1 or 2 pizza places, but the Indian food, vegetarian, is very good. Can't complain.
Yeah, I'm asking because it is good information for people who are, have the intention to go there the next time round.
Yeah.
I think food is always a concern for people traveling to India. It's not just because it's vegetarian, but because our body adapt differently in different countries that we go, right? Sometimes
very true.
We are not accommodated to the water, so we might fall sick. Especially if you are staying 4 nights, you don't want to be sick for 3 nights. It's kind of
the rule is don't drink. Water, bottled water. Tea or coffee, it's hot, so it's generally okay. But I wouldn't just eat anything off the street. I'll be very careful with that. Or just eat in the hotel or somewhere it's got a good write-up. So that's what it is.
Yeah, because the short duration, you don't want to fall sick.
Yes, and you don't know how good or bad medical is too. So
yeah, correct. So how do you get from Singapore to that place, Varanasi?
So you have to fly into Delhi and then transit in Delhi to a flight to Varanasi.
Oh, okay.
So door to door, it takes a good 12, 14 hours.
Wow. It's a long
It takes a while because a drive from Varanasi airport to Ghat itself takes about 1.5 hours, 2 hours, depending on traffic, what time you arrive. Yeah. So it's, I would go back at a heartbeat. I think there's a lot to tell. There's a lot of photography opportunities, but also there's a lot, not just taking pictures. I think there's a lot of research that can be done. I've met researchers that come there every year from Norway, from the US, because it's a learning center. You have a lot of scholars.
You mentioned they are also famous for music and arts, right? So
yeah, correct.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I think people wants to go there, because they can see everything in one place. That's the best ideal scenario for a traveler.
Yeah. There's a lot happening. There's a very big university. One of the biggest universities in India is there, called Banaras Hindu University. It's a huge campus. So it's a learning center of sorts. Not of sorts. It's been a learning center for ages, for a long, long time.
Nice,
so yeah.
Nice.
So you guys should plan a trip. Let me know.
Yeah.
I would love to. Yeah, I would love to.
The thing is, we never know when we can start traveling again.
Yeah, that's the thing. I keep checking,
Correct. No, I mean, probably if I were to go there, I won't be shooting for the first trip.
Just check it out.
Yeah, because like from the images that you shared with us, there's a lot of things going on. So if you are only there like for the first four days, yes, you might have some shots and stuff, but you don't have a very specific focus.
Yes.
Because, a lot of things going on is not easy to, document a story,
Yeah.
And I believe like you've been there a few times, you still don't have a specific story.
I'm shooting a series specifically around the what I would call devotion and what Hinduism calls seeing. It's around pilgrimage. What I've shown is just a small part of it, but it's, I've been going back simply for that too. But if you start shooting, there's so many stories.
Yeah, that's why. There's a lot of things going on. I mean, in one picture, there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing is, the best saris, we were talking about saris earlier, silk saris get made in Varanasi.
Oh, nice.
The best silk saris in India come from two places one in the south called Kanjipuram, and another one is Varanasi, Banaras silk. Super expensive.
Is there any particular reason why is the best there?
It's the weaving. It's surprisingly, the weavers are predominantly Muslims.
Oh, okay.
Varanasi has a huge Muslim population too, because hundreds of years ago, the Muslim sultans took over Varanasi, the Hindu kings took over, back and forth. So the weaving industry is predominantly by Muslims, but the people who wear it are Hindus. So it's an interesting, I've got a friend who's actually shooting a story around it, how the weavers are Muslims, the wearers are Hindus, and then the merchants in between who trade them are a mix of Hindus and Muslims, and how this whole fabric works together.
Yeah, because the thing is, many years ago, there was this article about how saris are being made in China and then imported into India for sale. Yeah. Maybe not the highest end type of sari, but for the mass market, it's cheaper.
Yeah, I guess, cheaper, much cheaper.
It's not surprise lah. I mean, for that particular area in the region, we have China, India, and some of the Muslim countries, because the Silk Road is literally there.
Still there.
Yeah. That's why we have all these intercultural, things going on.
Yeah, it's worked for hundreds of years, and I think it'll just continue on. So it's interesting to see. Yeah, I hope that was interesting for you guys. I mean, anyone else?
It's good. I think it opens up our vision of India, because if you look around images of India, most of the time they focus more on the city center, the transport, just the people that's walking along the street. Correct. But religious events are always very interesting, because you see what people are doing differently. Sometimes it's the first time we see it, or different photographers also interpret the scene differently, right? It's just like Thaipusam, for example, in Singapore. I try to shoot it every year if the schedules permit. You just always see different people, and the way they perform the ritual is slightly different, depending how big the group is or how small it is. Some are just doing with the family, 3 of them or 4 of them. Things get simpler, and then with a bigger group, it's more complicated.
True.
It's always different.
Yeah.
We don't have to be believing in a certain religion to be there.
Yes.
True, very
true. Because we want to experience. Because when I'm there and I'm looking at my photos, it's different.
Yeah.
When you are there, because there are a lot of smoke, people crowded, things are moving fast. These are hard to capture on photos. It's really hard. Even in video, it's also difficult, because how do you put it together to let people have the feeling that they are there? You can't. The only way is to be there. And then you realize when you look at the photo again, then you feel, I remember that scene, that smoke.
Yeah.
I think, it is experience. And, I've been there, 6 times now? I still don't think I've got it.
It's
never
still
too
work
much.
in progress. Yeah, because the thing is, every time you go there, you have a plan of what you want to do. And when you are on a plane coming back to Singapore, you might be telling yourself, say, I should have done this.
Yes, correct.
Let's do it the next trip. That's how things keep going and going again.
Yeah,
true.
Very true. Very true.
I mean, it's interesting sharing by yourself, because like the documentaries that I've seen online on YouTube, only most of it only cover the cremation part, because I think that's the main story of it.
Yeah, I think it's curiosity. A lot of people are
Correct.
curious about it. It's a selling factor too, I think.
Yes, and I can say not many actually like share what really what is the other activity that is going on around there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm hoping over the next, well, more couple of years, I'll be able to document it properly because it's a long-term project.
Yes,
So
true.
it's not something I'm going to finish because every time I go, it's different.
Yes.
That's another problem. You know, I think fun, you do it professionally, you know, it's how do you stitch it together? And you guys, you know,
Yes.
Ricky, you've traveled. How do you tell a story over time?
Yeah.
Because
It's difficult. I think a lot of stories are being rushed out because they have a deadline
yes,
to meet, especially for the medias. You know, they have a specific agenda that they want to highlight. So things
yeah,
are a rush to produce. But
Yeah.
very true.
for myself and for yourself, you know, it's going to be long term because you want to tell a proper story.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's the advantage of it.
Correct.
It gets the story is much more detailed compared to what you see on the media.
Yeah.
Like
True.
Fan said, when he watched documentary, there's definitely there's a agenda to the documentary to showcase certain
Yes.
interesting point that when people watch after they watch it, they say, oh yeah, it's a good documentary.
Yes.
But
Right.
Correct.
they won't see the other parts, like
Yeah.
maybe your photo about that guy with the mud all over the body.
But
Yeah, spa. You know,
yeah,
maybe there's a story about it, really a spa, but
true. Yeah,
just that maybe to a lot of people is that it's a hassle because you end up put out the mud, I have to clean it off. It's
Yeah.
a lot more, require more time to clean it off and things like that. So they don't want to do it. But maybe there are some nutrition facts to it.
Yeah.
Just like
Good
the Dead
point.
Sea, right? They go there, they apply
That's right,
everywhere.
yeah.
Yes. True.
You
True.
know, float it in the sea and then wash it up. So
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah,
there might be some
logic
nutrients in
to
there.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
for
don't know.
your-
I'm just making it up.
No, but maybe it's true. You know. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, you know, again, I yet to jump into the water or walk and bathe in the water, but hundreds, thousands of them do. You don't hear a breakout of any disease. Well, I haven't so far.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think partly it's, yeah, I don't know, partly maybe
I
it's
think the
faith.
immune system there for the people over there is probably stronger, to the elements that they are facing.
I've seen foreigners, you know, Westerners go into the water,
Wow,
and I'm like, oh, okay.
that's a big faith.
I've
in
only
the
gone
system.
knee high,
Correct.
so
But,
yeah, it's faith system.
To me, yeah. To me, the whole thing is about faith. Yeah.
Yes.
Because I mean, whatever religion you believe in, if you have particular faith on that particular thing that you're gonna do,
Yeah,
for sure
you'll be fine.
it will be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very true. Very true.
Yeah, I really hope to go there one day. Looking at your photos, it actually brings a lot of ideas to my mind.
Let me know. I'll give you the contacts, where to stay, who to contact,
Yeah,
which bookstore to go to.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
It's nice because the thing is that when you visit one place, right? Talking about books, I don't know whether do you have a habit to check out local bookstores when
Yes.
you travel.
Every city I go, the bookstore is one stop. If I can, I would do it.
But-
99% I would do it.
Because I have a habit of visiting supermarkets or of those cities that I visit.
Oh,
Just
same.
to take a look.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I just look at the raw food, how much it costs to, for them to buy, compared to getting food off the streets, the value of
Oh,
it. So
okay.
at least I get an understanding of sort of
The
like
economy.
the standard, the economy and the standard of living there.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
And of
for
course,
me, it will be exploring tea.
Tea.
Yes, tea.
Oh,
Because I know,
okay.
like for example, in Singapore you have teh tarik, teh
Yeah.
halia. Malaysia you have also teh halia. It's two different things.
Different.
You go to
Yes.
Indonesia, the teh halia is different. Then when you
Oh,
go,
okay.
when you go to India, the teh is
Yep, the
different.
tea is different.
Yeah, you
Yep.
go to Bangladesh, the cha they call it
Yep.
cha is different. It's interesting. I like that.
Okay.
I think
I'm
that's
not a
the
food
purpose of
person.
that's the purpose of traveling, right? Is to beside taking the
Explore,
photos,
yeah.
is to
Explore your
to understand.
your curiosity lah. Basically, yes.
Yeah. And for me, supermarket is the place to go because I just want to buy some gifts of people. It doesn't have to be expensive gift. Sometimes simple things like snacks or candies.
Yeah, that's very true. Local
It's a good,
delicacies.
No, and
because
you will get better pricing. Then you go to those how you say the
Tourists.
touristy shops.
Yeah.
You know,
for sure.
Yeah, you probably get the same quality or better in a local supermarket.
Well, we get the same item at a different price.
Yes,
yes,
packaging
for sure.
maybe slightly.
Yeah.
It's very true. Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess with this pandemic, hopefully we can resume, back to our normal life in the coming months.
I hope so
so
too.
we can start to travel again. If not,
Yes.
it's really tough on us. Not able to travel, to explore, to continue the documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Hopefully it's not too long. It's already how many months? 3 months now, right? I think for fun it'll be much longer.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of restriction on traveling right now, right?
Yeah.
So do you have to take the swab test? Do you have to be quarantined when you are there and then come back and things like that? So these are a lot of hassle.
Yeah. I mean, for now, I won't even risk myself to travel because no one have the cure for this pandemic yet.
True. Very true. You don't want to come back with it.
Yeah. I rather just stay safe. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah,
but I think the challenge is Singapore is, sorry, but it's small. There's only so much because I keep struggling like, what project shall I shoot here? Yeah. But now it's eased up.
You see, I have this discussion with many people before. You see, yes, Singapore is small. And the common complaint by photographers is there's nothing to shoot.
Yeah.
I think the reason is we have nothing to shoot is because we are familiar with the surrounding. That's why we have nothing to shoot.
Correct.
But if we make it a point to do something, there are actually a lot of things to shoot.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yes. Going to wet market is the best place to shoot.
Yeah.
That's true, yeah.
I mean, for me, for those watching this, and if you guys are photographers in any way, shoot the things at home, but not in your perspective. If you have a pet dog or cat or a hamster, shoot in their perspective. Shoot what do you think they will see and how they see things. It'll be interesting.
It's interesting. Yeah.
I do have a camera for my daughter. My daughter is 5 years old, and I gave her a first camera maybe about 3.5 years old or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just set it to black and white mode and just ask her to randomly shooting. So once in a while, I'll just browse through the photos that she took. It's totally different from our eyes.
Yeah,
very different.
And you are living in the same house.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes she'll just take random things that in the house that I have never seen it the way it is. Yes. But she do bring out the camera when she goes out with me, sometimes. But and she start taking photos of people. And for a kid, it's even easier compared to an adult.
Yes.
They just go to approach a person with a camera. They can take any photos.
Yeah. No one's going to stop them.
And a recent trip we did visit Hiroshima. We were at that dome. She actually was taking photo of a younger kid, and both of them were like, having fun. And I look back at the photos like I should share it one day. Pretty interesting from a kid perspective.
Right.
Correct. We were busy looking at the dome, taking a photo of the dome. She was just looking at another kid, another girl, and taking photo of her.
Correct. Because the perspective difference in a way is right now. Because we as photographers, right, when like you say you are busy trying to capture the dome, in your mind, you need to find this angle, you need to find the light. So many things go inside the mind. But as for your daughter, she got nothing to think of. She like, oh, nice, just take.
Yeah.
Nice, just take. Yeah. So you give a different perspective, and it's the perspective is much more interesting because you don't see in that way, right?
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, very true.
And another reason I gave her a camera so is that when we go out,
have a photo of yourself,
somebody take a photo of me.
That's one way of approach.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with photographers is that you don't have photo of yourself.
Actually, quite true, because when I have a few publications of magazines and stuff, right? So when they ask, can you send me a portrait of yourself? I'm like, I go through the whole album like, hey, where's my photo?
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. I don't take photographs of me in it, or have someone else take pictures. So I'm like,
Yeah. Because we always busy taking photo of other people. We don't even think for ourselves.
that's true. That's very true. Yeah.
So sometimes it's hard to look for a photo that you can use it for a profile photo for some events or something like that.
Very true. Very true. Yeah.
So I think photography has been there for so many years, and allowing kids to do so, it's an activity for them. Rather than I don't give my kid the phone because I rather she use a camera with a viewfinder. It gives her the perspective of looking through a viewfinder.
Correct.
It's something that engage her, and she just enjoy it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
maybe next time you should share your kids' photos.
Yeah, Ricky, you should do. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't edit her photo. The reason I set it to black and white, so I just copy and just upload.
Yeah.
You
because should share.
Because it's not my perspective. I shouldn't be editing it.
Yes, correct, you wouldn't know. Yeah, you may not know how to edit it.
Yeah, so maybe a few years later, when they look back at the photo, they might tell me that the reason I took it this way is because of this reason. Maybe I don't know. Leave it. Maybe I'll let you guys know the next few years.
Well, you should share.
Yeah, I think you should share. Yes, that's a good. Yeah,
there's a lot of photo. It's trigger happy. Yeah,
get her to pick them up. Get her.
I think it's a good idea. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I should do that.
A different perspective. She may be able to teach us one or two things.
I'm sure. I mean, I think we should be open to be learning from everybody.
Yeah.
Because we travel to different places, we learn different things. We see different things. I think it's a learning lesson that I think a lot of people just don't see it that way. Yeah. We have a lot of things to learn from photographers. The thing I always share with fun is that we photographers shouldn't be selfish.
Yep. True.
Because everything is available out there.
Yeah.
Why are we keeping the thing to ourselves? There's no special technology that we are using to take that photo at that place. It's just that sometimes
very true,
that element of luck. You are there. There's 5 things happening at the scene. You just capture it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And perspective. Everyone have different perspective. Yeah. You might have the same skill set, the same equipment, but everyone's perspective is different. No one is the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, even if you try to copy a work, somehow it won't be the same.
That's true. Very true. I think a lot of people have tried it and failed.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks very different.
Wondering like, hey, I see this photo, even with the setting given, everything given, you can't take
it doesn't come out.
Yeah, correct. It doesn't come out. Yeah.
Doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, Lingam, thank you for your time. Thanks for sharing with us and the viewers those photos that you've taken over the couple of years. I believe we should do something again when we are allowed to run events. You should be showing the photos in the bigger.
I would like to.
Correct.
Yeah, that, you can't beat that. I think that's the reason why I want to run the eXpose live event is to make sure when we look at the photo is big. We are talking about 2 meters wide at least. So when you look at it, it does give you a different feeling.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think looking at a screen is very different to when it's projected.
Very different. Yeah, very different. I mean, we have run 3 live events, and it's a different experience. Looking at a huge display, it does make a big difference in terms of the view of the photos. Yeah.
Well, thanks for the opportunity for me to share.
We are honored to have you here.
Yeah, to have you to share
your
work
thank
with
you.
us. Yeah.
It's a good time, we can catch up virtually in a way.
That's true. Hopefully the next time it's in person.
Yes, definitely. I miss those times where we can sit down and have coffee.
Okay.
I think we can now with 5 people 1 meter apart.
Yeah, but then again, there's still restriction going on, right?
It's very different.
It's different. Yeah. Right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We hope you have learned a lot from those images, and if you would like to know more about the place, reach out to Lingam. I'm sure he will be more than happy to share the information. Maybe one day we can go as a group. Never know till things get better.
Yep.
So
Thank
with that, we'll end up with a video.
This session is brought to you by Photosphere. Photosphere is the official distributor for brands like Leo Photo, Asian Y, Haida, and many more. Do visit photospheresg.com for more details.